on the rise, we the best. You hear the vibe and the feel the bass in your chest. The boy that hit off, but y'all don't fuck on west. They still stay in the tour, I'm waiting no test. I'm a water with the strip of Nimrod. Got your hollow mark on my forehead with a camera. I like flavors and deep fried meat. Stay away from crab and pick up feet. Walkers long and murder these beats. Bring heat watch to your avenue of streets. Women in the fight for over dry shot. Listen to me, the black women ain't hot.
Drinking water from a rock, sipping up every last drop, sipping up every last drop, 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 drop,
What's up happening, baby? Hit that like button, people. What's up, y'all? What's up, for real? Hold on, y'all. Oh, my computer's just pooping itself. Play. What's up, prime time? Dun, 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 yeah. Woo. What's happening, Old Nation? It's your boy TURNTTALLY, the #1 no-blooded fan in the no-known universe. And if you think you know somebody better than me and doing this, boy, stop. We unconquered over here. Hit that like button, people. We got the no-bloods. We got the true no-bloods in here today. The real fans are here today because, boy, I tell you, the Florida State fan base has quit on this team, I can tell. But, yeah, it's interesting news coming out. We're going to dive into this. I'm going to look in it with you. We're going to see what's going on. What's up, Drip? What's up, Don? Hit that like button, people. We're going to look in to see what's going on with Branden Jennings, right? And also, I heard, anybody heard about Terrion Arnold? No. Blood. Raw. Anybody heard about Terrion Arnold? I heard he might be going to the Gators. It's in my chat. It's in the honey fried chicken chat. So, I know it looks bleak, no fans, but we're going to get into this. We'll be fine. Kind of figured we was going to be doing this. Let me go ahead and link this up. What's up, y'all? New people. What's up, Richard? Thank y'all for supporting me, man, being loyal, y'all. I appreciate that, man. I really do. I know who in my corner. All right, now, go ahead and share this screen. We're going to find out what's going on. No-blooded. Yeah, I'm about to dig into this a little bit. Branden Jennings. Let me go to the honey fried chicken chat. We're going to find out what's going on with Branden Jennings. Also, Terrion Arnold. It is rumored that he put up some Gator photos on his Twitter. So, you know, the fans are losing their damn mind. But it's all good. Hit that like button, people. Hit that like. We're going to get into it. Okay, Branden Jennings. All right, top linebacker Branden Jennings. Right. Let's get into it. Branden Jennings. Decommits from Florida State. 2021 class took a huge hit from 4-star linebacker. He's 5-star on a lot of boards. He committed in the spring. It was a huge piece of the recruiting class. After a lot of thought and consideration, I will be opening my recruitment process. When I committed back in February, I was still planning on taking a few unofficial visits over the summer. The pandemic hit, and it prevented me from taking those opportunities. Oh, that sounds like a bunch of baloney. I have to get this right. I want to make sure that I make the right decision on where I continue my football career. They have been great. I just want to make the best decision for my future. So you know what that is. So yeah, man. So decommit. Very unlikely we get that stud back. Prime times are disappointed to hear about Jennings. Thought this dude was a lock. We need linebackers bad. Yeah, we need ends. We need linebackers. We getting tackles. A little bit more than that, though. A little bit more than that. So Branden Jennings, yep, he's out. Branden Jennings is out. Let's see, hold on. Now we gonna get some more deeper diving into that. Yeah, he just didn't want to. He don't want to come to Florida State, so he ain't no bloody. He said I guess losing. I guess, well, I would assume. Hey, that's what happens. It's called a rebuild. Pharrell said, I think we can still get both of them when his defense gets his act together. Maybe. No loyalty. His dad was a stud for us. Maybe we might still be on for him. Still early. Right. It's still early. We got our offense is making strides. So, you know, offense making strides. We'll see, man. We will see. It's called rebuilding. Hold on one second. Bye, Felicia. He said, bye, Felicia. Duh. If y'all coming in, baby, hit that like button, baby. It's filtering in slowly. Filtering in slowly. We're going to start off with on the bench. No blooded. They're going to explain a little further. They're going to explain further about the decommit, so just stick around. It's on the bench. Yeah, on the bench. How y'all been out there, man? How life treating y'all out there, man? Y'all good with this COVID? What's up, Pat? We doing well, Pat. Thanks, man. How y'all doing out there, man? Y'all making it through this? Hold on, let me get the podcast. Hold on. How y'all doing out there? Be sure to make my premiere tomorrow. Okay, here we go. That's 1 hour ago. Oh, 1 day ago. Make sure to make my premiere yesterday. I got a new video for y'all coming out, some new stuff. Pretty good, Drip. Good to hear, Drip. Good to hear, Drip. Let's get this going.
That was the news on where I continue my football and educational career. The new FSU staff has been great from the beginning. I just don't want to look back later in life and say that I made a hasty decision. I would never want to do this behind the scenes and hurt FSU's recruiting. They have been great. I just want to make the right decision for my future. Branden Jennings, linebacker at Sandalwood High School.
That was the news that we woke up to this morning. Monday morning, Florida State's top-rated commitment, Branden Jennings from out of Jacksonville, Florida, Sandalwood High School, the number 6 rated outside linebacker in the country, the 81st best player overall on the composite, posted a note saying that he was no longer committed to Florida State. This came as a shock, really, to all of us. I'm sure it came to a shock to you too, Chris. You were in Jacksonville just about, 8-10 days ago to speak with Jennings?
10 days ago, a week ago this past Friday, I went over there, sat down with him, talked with him in Coach Geis's office area for about 15 minutes. I've obviously known Branden and his father a very long time, known his father since he played here and then after his career here. I went over there in part because there's been some rumblings about other schools trying to get in. I asked Branden about it. He said he was being respectful towards other schools if they could talk to him, but he also said at the time that they know I'm committed there. I think it solely comes down to an on-field performance factor with him and trying to figure out if this is the right place for him. And I don't really know if anybody could blame him for that. I mean, FSU defensively is not very good right now. They're a 1-3 football team, and yes, he's a legacy, and yes, in some ways, people feel like he owes FSU something for that there's some tie there. But in reality, there isn't. It's ultimately a business decision about doing the best thing for his future and figuring out where he fits the best, can excel the best, can improve his future the best. And, I think that's the point in the process he's reached. I reached out to him today after the decommitment. Didn't really pick his brain on why he decommitted. I think his note speaks for itself.
Somebody's been watching football.
Yeah, FSU is going to be in it. I don't think he's walking away from FSU entirely in this process. But I asked him about, let me know what other schools are definitely in this. And he told me he'll get back to me on that. But, we updated his list of offers. I think his profile currently reflects his correct number of offers in schools that have offered. I know Maryland's a school that's been trying pretty hard to kick down the door with him. I'm sure there's plenty of others. And I'm sure his phone's been quite popular today with his decision to open up. So that's where things stand.
Yeah, I know people are first going to ask, well, do we have a shot with him? For us to say either way right now, we really don't know. It's far too early to say. But just knowing Jennings and the way that him and his family operate, I do think FSU will still have a chance. More often than not, recruits don't end up back with the school, but I think FSU will still have his ear. Like Chris said, him and his father are very kind of mild-tempered. They took the process in stride. They're not big look-at-me type people, so I don't think he's doing this just for the attention of it. If you're an FSU fan, you can completely understand. You watch the games, why a top recruit that has other options would maybe open things up. But it's a huge blow to Florida State's recruiting class. The 2021 recruiting class dropped. I think they were ranked at number 18. They're now 25th in the country. They have 16 total commitments, and now Luke Altmaier out of Starkville, Mississippi, is now the top-rated commitment in the class. Chris, how do you?
Josh, I thought you were going to say Luke Altmaier was going to decommit when you started there. Thank God.
No, I'm saying Luke Altmaier.
Don't be negative over there, buddy. Don't be negative.
Yeah, you want me to be positive today?
Positive energy only. Okay. Positive Monday.
Okay.
Well, I was going to get to Luke after this, but Chris, what do you think the significance is of this decommitment, just to overall picture of the class?
Well, it doesn't send a great message. Classes are sometimes built by momentum of big-time guys committing at the top and others following suit. I think it can work in a reverse method, especially when there's some negative storylines that can be associated with it. Legacy backing off his commitment, defense currently a mess on the field, yada, yada. So I think that's a negative. And the bigger thing to me is FSU's defense isn't going to get better if they don't get better players. And Branden Jennings is most certainly one of those guys that I believe could help them down the road. And I don't currently love their defensive class. With him out of the mix, you've got, Sean Bray Jackson, very, very good football player, committed here recently. You got a Marion Cooper and Hunter Washington who are ranked high. And then you got guys like Jordan Eubanks, more of a developmental type, Joshua Farmer, a body in transition on the defensive line. Byron Turner is another body that still has to figure its way out a little bit. It's not a defensive group class that I look at and go, man, that's going to be what helps this defense take the next step, what's going to help it improve. I feel like it's a lot of guys that you kind of hope and pan out, and you got to develop a great deal instead of some guys that seem more like sure things. Branden Jennings, to me, was much more like a sure thing. So that to me is the biggest negative of this decommitment.
I think it also is the first kind of, I don't want to say domino to fall, because hopefully these aren't a bunch of dominoes falling, but we've expressed concern over Luke Altmaier and the Ole Miss situation. Maybe not concern, but we have legitimized it. I mean, Luke has admitted to it, that he is talking with Ole Miss. People asked him about Bama. He said, no, not really. It's really just Ole Miss. But here you go. Ole Miss lost this weekend as well, but they're total.
All right, let's see what we got in the chat. So I think we have to go crazy next year with a heavy defensive class. Alabama got 300 plus yards on a Saban defense. Yeah, put up on a Saban defense. Yeah, it was pretty good. Ole Miss. Name a defense that is dominating other than Clemson and Georgia. Defensive play throughout the nation sucks. That's true. That is very true. I hope Luke don't go. We need Luke in this class, man. It's getting next level bad. Yeah, we losing legacy. What's up, Mike? The Noble Bloods up in here today, baby. Hit that like button. Help me out, y'all. Let's punk ass go. We don't need this class. FSU is not the community college. Right. This defense is horrible, but I don't like kids that commit and then change it up. I'm getting back into this. We got some more information.
Until with Alabama. And this kind of shows that nobody opportunity.
With his dad's game-worn FSU jersey. And so in theory, that was as solid as they could have gotten.
This is on the bench.
You would think, yeah. But he is also the most talented and has, of all the players on the commit list, has the most options to look at. So I wouldn't write him off completely. I don't think this is goodbye forever. I think that they'll have an opportunity, especially if they're able to host official visits. I think Branden Jennings will give them an official visit. Now, we don't know if that's going to be possible. As of right now, it's not on the calendar. So, we'll see.
Chris and I were talking this morning. I was doing my morning walk. After I got off the phone with you, Josh, I gave Chris a call. You're setting up some other stuff for episodes later this week. And Chris and I were kind of going over the game plan and things we wanted to write. And
it just comes with the losing. People crying, Pat. For real. It just comes with it. And we needed him real bad, so they're going to start hating him. Right, Info Society. Stay positive. It's good he left. We need players who love FSU. He might be a diva. It might be a bust. We don't know about Branden Jennings. We got four. What's his face? Donovan Jackson was his name. Octavius Jackson was a 4-star. Right, we need dogs. He said it sound like puke.
One of the ideas that I threw to him was I want to write about personnel that FSU can do defensively to kind of fix things after this debacle last week against Notre Dame. Multiple debacles now on defense, and what realistically can be done in season, how they address that with the current group of coaches and players they have, if it can get better. And Chris was talking about spinning it forward to how you can impact this defense positively via recruiting. And Branden Jennings is the first place, my mind goes, okay, you have this versatile chess piece. You can play any linebacker position. He's a badass. He had 2 safeties, I think, this past week. And when you look at, I know we're going to get to the Notre Dame game, but you look at the way the defense played against Notre Dame and allowing 350 rushing yards plus on the ground, what's the one position, both answer 3, 2, 1,
right,
that you would say was the most disappointing on Saturday? 3, 2, 1.
Defense. Middle of the defense.
Linebacker. Never mind, it didn't work the way I wanted.
I was going to say middle linebacker, but I really, at the last second, thought, damn, it's just the whole middle of the defense. But yeah,
there wasn't a segment of the defense that was good on Saturday.
You know what? Even as bad as our defense look, no nation, even bad as our defense look, we still should have won that game. And nobody brought up, I don't think nobody in these podcasts brought up Jaden Woodby. And I don't hear many fans talk about Jaden Woodby either. Am I wrong for being that angry at Jaden Woodby?
They played better down the stretch in the second half, and the goal line stand was a positive moment. But let's be honest, there were massive failures at every end. J-Rob early on, getting his head down, getting run by on that first play. Linebackers being out of place, just truthfully playing completely miserable outside of Amari Gaynor. And Emmett Rice played a good second half, but he struggled mightily in the first half. And then the secondary, the safeties weren't safeties. They weren't the safety net that ends big plays here and there. And, Asante Samuel Jr. got bullied to some extent, still played a pretty good game overall, still got graded pretty high, I believe, on the defense overall. But the other cornerback spot's been a major issue as well. Jones got run by on one play, for example. So there is nothing about the defense right now that's a positive. You talk about positives on the defense, you probably say Amari Gaynor, Asante Samuel Jr., end of conversation.
Yeah, for sure. There's very little. And even then, Asante Samuel is your best player, your most consistent player on defense, and he probably had his worst game of the season on Saturday, largely because they put him on an island, and sometimes the smaller corners going to get beat by a bigger guy. But there are issues that we're going to get into with this FSU defense, and the frustration that maybe you're hearing in my voice is the knowledge that one, the glimmer of hope that you had right now already in the boat, that you thought, okay, moving forward, Branden Jennings is going to be a guy in a year who's going to help elevate the bottom of that room immediately, maybe even make an immediate impact to raise the ceiling of it too, and play multiple positions. And that's not a guarantee anymore. And that was me going into this week being like, oh, you know what? We felt better about, like, I was looking forward to talking about the things we were looking forward to about this program after a gritty performance at Notre Dame after showing growth. And that's why I'm frustrated. That was undercut a little bit.
Well, you know, we're going to probably touch on it further in this one and obviously future ones, but they're going to have to kill the portal. Like, that's the thing. That's where they're going to have to fix the defense. It's not going to be through high school and JUCO recruiting, I don't think. JUCO's a maybe. We'll figure that out. That's still developing. But high school-wise, you know, you try to get a guy like Jennings back in the boat, but how many other guys are they out there truly involved with in a good spot with defensively that are going to be difference makers? There's just not many that you can point to. And if things aren't going to open back up, and it doesn't appear they're going to any sooner than January, and the early signing period is still going to happen, there's going to be 3/4 of the blue chip types off the board at that point. So it's not a place you can go for a fix.
Not an instant fix for sure. I looked into some JUCO recruiting this morning. Was told FSU is not currently active with JUCOs, but we've been reporting that. We know Jalen Williams, the defensive tackle, has some connections to the FSU staff, but offensive line, I mean, it was a weak offensive tackle class heading into this JUCO cycle, and then without them playing, it's really hurt junior college recruiting. So I was told that, you know, FSU is going to go hard in the portal, like Chris said, grad transfers, instant impact type guys. That's what they've got to get, and it's just not going to happen on the recruiting trail, not in 2021.
Let's take a quick commercial break. Marcus for Liquors, one day I promise we will have positive.
Reviews in practice again. I know nobody's going to take him seriously.
Like he wants.
They're going to talk about Mike Fuller a little bit. Hit that like button.
I don't think there was anything like that was a huge takeaway. Like Emmett Rice was one that we saw on a replay that he looked better and flashed more than maybe during the game. But generally speaking, was there anything on the second viewing for you that stood out that maybe wasn't evident on the first one?
I drove home the belief on some positive and some negative performance.
Right. I'd rather be outclassed and outbeat and dominated than incompetent. Look lost out there. What the hell we doing? Right, Don. Me too. I'm the same way.
Performances, you know, I thought Bavion Johnson played pretty poorly among the offensive line. I thought Robert Scott played pretty well, for example. Terry, very good game. First watch, very good game. Second watch, I was even more impressed by. I thought it was one of the best games he's ever played in his time at FSU in the sense of being well-rounded with and without the ball and making effective plays that help the offense.
Terry dropped another touchdown, though.
Jordan Travis, very pleased with. I thought the second viewing drove home to me more than anything. They tailored the offense extremely well to be a positive for Jordan Travis. And that's probably the greatest takeaway I took away from the second view.
I want to focus on the positive real quick, and there were two names that you mentioned there, Chris, Jordan Travis, Tamorian Terry. Real quick, I'm just going to throw this note out there with Tamorian Terry. You mentioned it was his best game ever that we've seen, and I agree, like in terms of just being complete, of not just being a deep threat, but being more than that. Even the passing, the long touchdown pass to him, it wasn't just him running a go route. Like he does this double move where he has the cornerback one-on-one and just completely shakes him. Jordan Travis throws a nice ball to hit him in stride for the touchdown. But catching contested passes, blocking on the perimeter, it was all there. It's kind of now or never for him in terms of like he wants to play in the NFL. He's shown that he can do one or two things. People call him a one-trick pony. No, he's showed that he's capable of giving you more than that. So that was a positive. Just a few weeks ago, they were calling him out. They were challenging him. He was someone who had a bad showing against Miami while not 100% and had the sideline meltdown. What did you think of that aspect of it? Because I think that's an encouraging thing is that he's someone who seems to be buying in a little bit, which is obviously really important.
Well, if this team's going to improve this year on both sides of the ball, it's going to take veterans like that practicing the way they have to play. Based off Mike Norvell's comments before the game, immediately after the game, and then again today, as well as in the preseason, and obviously that hasn't.
Am I overblowing that? We're seeing the growth right in front of
me. I think Campson has lived for that group. More than anything, get your dominant defense, but you've got to make teams earn it. Just, allowing chunk plays of 60-plus yards, 40-plus yards in run game where there's no challenge to the opposition. It's not going to fly.
You could hear it in the coaches speak today. And I think that's kind of what hit me when Chris said acceptance. Well, I don't think Adam Fuller was dodging questions. I don't think he was spinning them. I think he's just accepted what this year is. And it's about kind of figuring out the pieces that you have, trying to improve them just incrementally week to week. But I don't think you're going to solve any of these major problems during the season.
I want to address this aspect with Adam Fuller. I'm happy that you mentioned him specifically with this, Josh. There's an interesting dynamic occurring among the fan base, among our message boards. I know it irked Christopher Nee a little bit. I'll give him the platform here to delve into it a little bit. But there's this knee-jerk reaction. That should be a sponsor. We call it knee-jerk reaction, and it's when Chris Nee gets to jerk for 2 minutes. Anyways, it's this reaction that we have where people want to place all the blame on Adam Fuller or all the blame on the personnel. The truth is, defensive personnel is not playing very well, especially in the very heart of the defense. The defensive line, inside linebackers, and the safeties. That's pretty piss poor right now in every imaginable area, pretty much. Marvin Wilson's underachieving. Corey Durden still doesn't look 100%. Robert Cooper got pushed around. I know he was playing with the banged up hand. He got pushed around more than we're ever used to seeing him play.
What's wrong with Marvin Wilson, y'all? What's wrong with Marvin Wilson? He wasn't this bad last year, was he? What's wrong with Marvin Wilson? That's what I'm curious about. He looks the goods. I mean, has he lost confidence? I mean, he's getting pushed around by guys that shouldn't even be able to hold his beer, man. Yeah, these dudes were way tougher on Harlan Barnett. You're right. They're not, but not much he has to work with. These the same damn players from last year. You think Adam Phillips was wrong playing not to get hurt? You think Marvin playing not to get hurt? Like, damn, why he even came back?
Linebackers, veteran linebackers, Leonard Warner is just not
What's up, Scott?
helpful at all. He's a detriment when he's out there. And the safeties we've documented, those guys aren't getting it done. But that also, falls on coaching. I don't know if it's scheme necessarily, but if guys aren't tackling, if guys aren't trusting what they see with their eyes, they don't know where to go, how to fill a gap. That ultimately is the coach's job to fix, and that's clearly not getting done. So to me, it's both. I think you can say there's frustration on both sides right now. It's on Adam Fuller to find a way to fix it.
Yeah, it's about messaging. People love to say, oh, you're talking about the scheme. No, I'm not solely talking about the scheme. There might be scheme fixes. I don't think there is. I don't think there's drastic ones. And there's no doubt that the personnel has been bad. They've played 25 players on defense, and we can name 2 that have been good. So that is speaking to the fact that they have a lot of personnel issues, and there is no free agency. There is no magic fix, and those guys are not playing well. And there is no doubt a lot of it falls on the shoulders of the players. But there is also something to messaging. There's also something to coaching. There's also something to coaches getting through. And I think the coaches, right?
Yeah, good point. Drip. Yeah, even Coop don't even look like nasty like he did last season. Last season he looked mean, and it might be the coordinator.
We admit that when they talk. John Papuchis today, Adam Fuller today, when they were discussing the defense as a whole and their specific unit in Papuchis' case. It's about messaging. It's about being consistent, building confidence in the young man, and making them go play better. And it's not going to become drastically better. But I think if you asked Adam Fuller in his heart of hearts, are things going well for him from a coach to player perspective currently with this defense? I think his frank and honest answer would be, it has to get better. And that's the truth. And that doesn't mean Fuller's a bad coach or doing a bad job. It means that it's not working, and it's something they have to keep working at. And they've had 4 games, couple preseason scrimmages, obviously of preseason practices, but that's essentially the time they've had together. Sometimes it takes time. The offense got a huge, boost, a huge jump when they went to Georgia.
It's almost as if Branden Jennings, he looking at, he looking at it like, they playing soft. That's the mentality they playing with. I don't want to play with that. I don't want to be like that.
And Travis, but there were other pieces that also came together. With Damon Webb started running it better. Obviously, it was available. Terry's kind of turned a corner. Robert Scott's been a nice piece at right tackle. On the defense, they don't have those things to point to. So it is a lot of personnel stuff. There's a lot that players have to do better. But I also think Adam Fuller and the entire defensive staff is struggling right now to get that message conveyed to their players in a manner where it is producing results, which is ultimately what they are doing as coaches. Coaches are teachers, and they have to teach their players to play better. And there's an element of that being simply building confidence for the guys to go out there and do their jobs correctly, not miss assignments, line up the right way, finish plays, and do things well. I'm not saying X's and O's lining them up in an alignment that suddenly creates a pass rush. I don't think that's magically coming. But there are things they can do to improve this defense. And to completely excuse coaches from the equation, I think it's just, it has no nuance, and I think it's idiotic personally.
You know what I don't understand as part of this equation, or at least one thing that I've struggled to kind of comprehend and come to terms with? Adam Fuller at Memphis improved that defense quantifiably in many different ways in his lone year there. His year at Marshall, and a little different because he was on the coaching staff there before, but his year going from an assistant to the defensive coordinator, Marshall made pretty big strides in several areas. At Chattanooga, same deal. When he was the defensive coordinator there, it made jumps. And so that's one thing I've struggled with, is like he's done it at multiple levels, at multiple stops before, obviously not at Florida State's level. We've seen that before with coaches come in here and struggle to make the jump with this level of competition. But I've had a hard time kind of comprehending like how he's been able to implement his scheme successfully in other places in year one. And here it just seems so constipated and such a struggle.
Yeah, I think he's a capable coach. I'm not trying to dismiss him. I certainly think he has proven in his career that he is capable of coaching defenses, finding improvement, and coaching them to have good results. It just hasn't happened at FSU really in any regard through 4 games. They have not played well on that side of the ball.
How's it getting worse?
At any point this year. It's very tough to point to and say that's a positive. And at the end of the day, it's a results-based business. There's a whole lot that goes.
How's it getting worse? He getting all this money, right? How's it getting worse with how many injuries? He's got Hamza that we haven't even seen all year. So you can't count Hamza. So you can't say it's getting worse because of injuries. How's it getting worse with no injuries? There's nobody who's hurt. It's amazing how that works. When players don't do nothing and they stay healthy. It's amazing how that works.
Goes into those results. But it's a results-based business, and the results for the defense is that they're among the worst in the country. And they had defensive issues before Adam Fuller was hired, and there's a reason that Mike Norvell got hired, and that's because FSU was stuck for several years in a row. And there's a lot of players that have been bad now under 3 defensive coordinators. So it certainly falls on those guys. But it's about trying to get better as a football program. It's about trying to take steps forward, and Adam Fuller plays a huge role in that, along with his defensive staff, and that's where they're at. So next week, I want to see a football team that comes out and tackles better, lines up better, communicates better. It looks like they understand what they're trying to accomplish better. They've really struggled with that a great deal in first halves of games. I mean, Miami and Notre Dame kind of named the score against them in the first half of 2 games, and those are both damn good football teams. I'm not trying to take away from them, but FSU has to be better. They have to put up some form of resistance. And against Miami, they made them work for it far more than they made Notre Dame work for it early on. But it's got to be there with some level of consistency. And at this point, the only thing they've been consistent at is that.
I'm going to read a couple numbers here to you guys, and we can turn the page from this game unless there's anything else you want to talk about. But I think that's everything. I'm going to go down the line here from FSU's defensive line. Basically, guys that were coming back from last year. Janaris Robinson had 9 tackles.
I've been saying that too, Don.
Marvin Wilson had 8.5. That's only 9 games. Corey Durden had 6.5 tackles for loss. Robert Cooper had 5. Joshua Kano 2.5 in 3 games. Dang. So that was 31.5 tackles for loss for FSU's defensive line, key defensive linemen last year. Those same guys all back this year. They haven't all played in every single game. They have 2.5 tackles for loss between them.
But from if you extrapolate that throughout the course of the season,
like they averaged about
from 31
tackles for loss per game between them.
Whoa.
Last year. This year it's 0.27.
We averaged 6 and we only got 2.
And teams die when they have no pass rush. And
or no just playmaking ability. Forget even getting to the quarterback. The sack numbers are bad
How
too.
We not
That's
get to
down
the
about
quarterback. We bigger than everybody.
Yeah. But no negative plays too. I mean, they had one against Notre Dame. If you can't put a team in bad third down situations, you're going to lose.
I know they're not that good.
And that's where I don't know, like, where the scheme makes a difference because Odell Higgins was coaching the defensive line last year. He's coaching them this year. for them to have this drastic of a drop off. I know Coop wasn't 100% on Saturday. I know Corey Durden's coming off the shoulder deal. Marv, I'm really not sure what's going on there. It doesn't make sense to me. But if you're not right there, if you're not good in the middle of the heart of your defense, nothing else is going to. They have no ability to hide the linebacker play right now. If it's not Emmett Rice, no one else is really consistently playing at any sort of respectable level. That's the young guys and the old guys.
Amari Gator.
Amari Gator. I guess I don't consider him a middle linebacker when I think of him. Chris, would you move Amari? Would you take the chance of moving, while you mentioned him, of moving him from stud to either Fox defensive end or middle linebacker to get him closer to the play?
Well, the issue with that is then you're playing either someone like Deloach,
Yeah,
or you're
you shouldn't
moving
be averaging
down to stud. You're moving a lot of pieces around the table.
No, 30 points a game, you
I
should be
don't
fine.
know
Your
if
head
it's
coach should be
effective
gone.
because I don't know if Gaynor is going to be as good of a football player production-wise playing Fox, being more matched up in a true, honest sense with an offensive lineman than he is as an outside stud linebacker flying around the field and trying to make plays. So I think we love the saying robbing Peter to pay Paul. I think that's kind of the issue there. I don't think FSU has enough players playing at a high level to move a lot of guys around and not have a drastic fall off at another spot that essentially you're fixing one weakness by making something else weaker.
That's where having a healthy Hampson Nasruddin would allow you the flexibility to start making some moves with the chess pieces. I had him way too low on my most important players list, just seeing what they are without him. I was way off on that.
What are you gonna do?
He's
Blitz?
probably a top 5 most important player as it stands right now, because of how he can impact the game with his versatility and just frankly how pedestrian other players kind of in the similar range of him playing either a similar position or the exact same position have played this year. So we don't feel very optimistic about the defense. I think that's
we should play the
full
4-3. Don't seem to matter, right?
Acceptance process to this. I don't know. I still think you can become far more close to average. His wide receiver spot before it was an ordeal with Ontario Wilson, kind of like somewhat of a demotion after the Miami game.
Terry back starting.
That's been changed now, obviously, after the last 2 weeks. And Ontario Wilson kicks over to the other wide receiver position on the depth chart as the starter. Both those Ashburn boys have played very well. The only other change that I'll mention was at the offensive tackle spots. Darius Washington did not play against Notre Dame as he was dealing with a leg injury from a sustained against Jacksonville State. Devontae Love-Taylor, who's been at right tackle and at right guard, starts at left tackle, stays there for, I believe, almost the entire game, if not the entire game. Robert Scott gets to start at right tackle. So Love-Taylor is listed as an or starter at right tackle and left tackle. That seems to be contingent on Darius Washington himself. Although I'm not entirely sure, if Robert Scott leaves the lineup at this point.
I don't think he does. A couple other injury-related notes to the depth chart. Hampson Nasruddin listed as a co-starter. That's been consistent in the last few weeks. Norvell was asked about him today in sort of a roundabout way, said it remains day-to-day, week-to-week. They're not in a rush to get him back out there until he is fully healthy. And I asked about Thomas Schrader. He's listed second team at guard, I believe, behind Davion, but I may be incorrect. Maybe on the other side behind Dante.
That's what Van say all the time.
He almost started the JSU game where you remember Dante Lucas was suspended, but he got rolled up on his ankle, I believe Norvell said, on the Wednesday leading up to that game. He's dealt with a couple different injuries, setbacks here during the preseason and the early regular year. That's kind of prevented him from getting out there, but I don't think he's far away from getting an opportunity if the guard play doesn't improve. And Johnson has been the worst of the two guards. Lucas has also struggled and obviously had the other situations that prevented him from playing. So the door is slightly ajar there, and I think you could see another freshman get a shot. And we'll see if he can take off. They were really, if you remember, they were higher on Thomas Schrader with preseason camp than I think even Robert Scott. They like them both, but I feel like Schrader got a little more praise a little bit early on than we saw Scott, and Scott's obviously excelling at a pretty high level for
Making at this point. All right. Let's do a little talk about more. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the defense. Hit that like button, people. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the defense. Also, look out for my premiere video coming out tomorrow. It'll be around this be there for the premiere live about 7:30 p.m. Is that too late for some of y'all? So y'all can watch premiere with me and the family at the same time. I got all new skits this week too. The new skits, track, football, basketball, and some humor about Miami getting their ass busted. And also our defense. The defense is a reflection of the coordinator. Soft. Tattoos and eye shade ain't gonna do it. We gonna talk some more about the defense. This next guy breaks down some problems. Where is it? Unconquered. This is the Unconquered podcast. Play it 10 minutes. 10-minute mark is when they start talking. They praise the offense. Everybody's happy with the offense. I am. I know I am. The podcasts are all praising them, like the FSU fans around the fan base is happy with the offense. We're excited. That's why nobody's talking about the offense. We always talk about the problems, right? Hit that like button, people. But yeah, we gotta get the defense started. We had the defense. We probably
they averaged 8.4 yards a rush.
Here we go. Wait a minute.
I mean, you realize that they were less than 2 yards short of first down every time, every play. They averaged 8.4 yards a rush.
Talk about Notre Dame offense on us.
That's not getting it done on the defensive side. And for a defense that came into the season really thinking that its defensive line would be its strength.
In the nation.
And right now, across the defensive line, I don't see anybody who's playing
anything, doing nothing
at a super high level.
Dead bodies.
I mean, there's some guys that I think are playing okay. I mean, I thought actually in this game, Marvin Wilson was okay.
Okay.
But he didn't look like a first or second rounder. Are you kidding me?
We all know he ain't no first.
He didn't make a difference in this game.
We all know that.
They're going against a really good offensive line. As I said in the preview, that offensive line has 5 guys that are going to at least get a cup of water at the NFL level. They got 5 NFL offensive linemen. That's a good offensive line. But if you're going to be playing in the NFL, if you're supposed to be a first rounder, you're supposed to win some matchups against those guys and create some havoc. And you just didn't see that from any Florida State defensive lineman today.
They didn't win no battles. How's that
And
possible?
the edge guys got their tails kicked. Kando, Janarius Robinson, those guys, and especially early in the game against the gap.
Kando's a 5-star.
Counter tray, power, that stuff.
So
they didn't seem to have any idea how they were supposed to be playing.
So there you go. Kando's a 5-star. Don't be crying about Branden Jennings. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'd rather go to the transfer portal. Don't even worry about it. You got to start. You got to build. You got to build a foundation. We already got the quarterbacks. Right? We already got Chuba. Even if Altmaier was to flip to Bama, to Nick Saban or somewhere, we still got Chuba. We got the quarterback. We just need to get the pieces on the defense. Offense is going to be good. So there we go. Now we know where to focus our defense at. What's up, Henry Lee? Now we know where to focus our attention at. What the problem is. You got to get a new coordinator. This is rebuilding. It all comes. I know we're not used to that. It's called rebuilding. Do we get better players in, or is it Fuller? We're going to have to. Mike Norvell's going to have to make that choice, which way he wants to go. And Norvell, I'm pretty sure, already has a plan in place. I'm pretty sure he already clock is ticking. Norvell gonna get it straight. He knows how to get the coaches. Why he brought Mike Fuller? I don't know. That's the one hire. Alex Atkins an A+. Alex Atkins, we're gonna have our offense gonna be good. We're gonna have an offensive line. Look out, we got two blue chip tackles coming like that. And look at our offensive line playing right now. We're gonna get the tackles in the we're gonna get what we want on offensive line. Mims we might get Mims now. So our offense is gonna be it's gonna be nasty. We gotta get our defense right. What's up, Fred? We gotta get our defense right. Our offense is gonna be good. Secondary, you saying secondary was going to secondary? No pressure. There's no pressure from the line, bro. I don't care if we have 4 Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders can't cover nobody for 4.5 seconds. You can't. That's impossible. We can have 4 All-Americans. It don't make, if you ain't got no pressure going to the quarterback, he get all day. But if we can't get the good players without showing at least an okay product on the field, right? So we got to get the right. I don't know if it's coordinator. I don't know. Mike Norvell got to make that call. Because
in situations where it looked like they should spill the ball, meaning you're trying to force the guy to bounce the ball outside because you got some support there, those guys tried to box it. And let the
Get that light.
box the guy into the line of scrimmage so that the linebackers on the inside can make the play. And of course, the linebackers weren't there, and then you've got a gaping hole. And then you get down on the goal line, and all of a sudden you spill it, and there's nobody out there to spill it to. So then guy walks right in. This is not good. And Florida State, especially in the first half, they looked completely lost trying to stop gap concepts. They up front were getting washed on the defensive line. Linebackers were in the wrong gaps or were taking poor angles to gaps, were late to gaps, were soft to gaps. Just all sorts of a mess, leading to large holes for running backs to be able to hit the secondary with some speed. And then the safety, who's supposed to be the primary run support in many of those plays, Jaden Lars-Woodby, also did not play well tonight. And if you're at that position, partly because you're supposed to be a cerebral player who's going to really help make sure that the defense doesn't make mistakes, you can't be the guy to push a guy when he's 2 yards out of.
All right, there we go. He did bring it up. I didn't listen to this yesterday. Okay, there we go. Woodby, goddamn Woodby.
Bounce. That was a big reason that they gave up that late touchdown in the first half, and that touchdown was really it. I mean, Florida State, had they gone into half one score down, they'd have had a chance to at least scare Notre Dame in this game.
Right,
going in 16 down,
that was huge.
Or was it 15 down at the time? That wasn't that.
That play by Woodby changed the whole damn game, man. That play by Woodby changed the whole damn game on that one play. That was so selfish and stupid and fucking boneheaded. Oh, this team has been a pain on my brain the whole time I've had this YouTube channel. This team has been a pain on my brain. Divas, man, divas. I don't know where these guys come from. You make the uniform. The uniform don't make you. They still think the uniform make you. Woodby has never played well, Jay Gunner. This team is frustrated. Is a pain on my damn brain. And every time my wife asks me, because she don't even watch football, she don't like it. She said, "Did your team win?" I gotta tell her no for 4 years. That's all she hears. She like, I remember one game I told my wife, I said, "We got a big game tomorrow. I can't wait. I'm excited." She said, I don't have faith that your team is going to win. I said, "Why?" She said, "Because y'all never do." This team has been a pain on my brain, bro. Like, just like the Virginia game, we had a right where we wanted them. Blackman missed a wide open Terry. Terry dropped the touchdown. Cooper had a stupid penalty at the time of the end for us. We had a chance to win. Same old crap.
That seemed to be just enough, and it changed the momentum situation. And that was a big play. That was a really bad play. And from one of the smartest guys on the team, and a guy who you trust not to make that mistake.
I don't know.
And
I don't know about
that guy. They need a higher level of play from that guy at that position. Now,
5-star.
Word from inside is that Hamza Nasruddin is getting closer and closer to being able to play. They're hoping to have him on the field, at least, maybe not as a starter, but hoping to have him on the field, maybe even next game. And if he's at that position, they're a lot better. I still think Lars-Woodby would be better at the stud spot, but that's just me, apparently. And at any rate, they did not get good enough support from the boundary safety in run support to shut down some of those places where there were some seams. So essentially what happened is the defensive line got washed. In some cases, they didn't play the technique correctly against pullers, things like that, and allowed seams to open. Then linebackers didn't do a good enough job of closing down gaps where they were. And then the second level didn't do a good job of cleaning up where there were leaks. And so you have problems at all three levels of the defense against the run, and that's that. I mean, and I got a lot of questions on my Twitter feed about, is this scheme, is this defensive coaching, or is this on the players? And I would say it's a combination. I mean, anytime you see players not executing, that's on the players, but it's also on coaching.
Uh-oh.
Now, the complicated factor here is that this is not, when you say this is on coaching, this is not just on this defensive coaching staff, a staff that hadn't even had time to install all its stuff before fall camp. I mean, you haven't had a chance to rep all that, and certainly not rep it with live contact like you would in the spring. You haven't had a chance to do all that. And I think that's a big factor that we can't. I don't want to make excuses, but at the same point, you do need to be realistic about what the obstacles are in this season. And I think you can see nationwide that defensive football is not at its peak right now. Most years, the defense starts ahead of the offense for most teams. This year, in the coronavirus year, it seems to be the reverse. And I think there's reasons for that. And the primary reasons are that teams didn't hit much and have limited contact and have followed a number of protocols related to the coronavirus in terms of practice, in terms of contact in practice, in terms of how often you're tackling to the ground in camp. You missed an entire spring of tackling to the ground and working on block destruction and doing 11 on 11, like live stuff. And in camps, you're doing less of that then as well. You're not doing as much work on block destruction and on tackling and all those things. And that does impact your physicality. It does impact the way that you play defense. And I think we've seen that nationwide in terms of its effect. Now, I actually think that there's another good comp for Florida State in terms of a peer, or at least who should be a peer. They're not really a peer in terms of level of play in the last few years, but a peer program that gives you some sense of the obstacles that Florida State is dealing with and that the Florida State defensive staff is dealing with in installing a new system in this year and how much of a difference that can make. When you look at LSU, they've given up 44 points to Mississippi State and 45 to Missouri this year. And LSU has a ton of defensive talent. But like Florida State, they also have a new defensive staff, including defensive coordinator Bo Pelini, who's had a good record elsewhere. I mean, he's a good defensive coordinator, including at LSU in the past. And they've had success. But they are getting shelled this year in that new system. And I think a big reason is because they've just not had enough time to install everything the way that they wanted and to get players playing fundamentally within their system. And you look at, they give up 44 to Mississippi State and you go, well, that's Mike Leach. I mean, obviously that's the Mike Leach offense. And so it's a tough matchup game one. That Mike Leach offense has scored 14-2 in the two games that after the LSU win. They scored 16 points in the other two games. So I think that there's something to this that it's really, I actually thought coming into this year that it would be harder on offenses for first year coaches, that it would be harder to get your offense installed than for first year defensive coaches. But I think the results have actually gone the other way. And the more I reflect on it, the more I see why I was wrong about that. And one of the reasons is because offensively, you can give your players playbooks and all these things, and they can at least get a sense of what they're supposed to be doing. And you can simplify, you're working, you know what you're doing on offense in advance. You know where you're going. Defenses have to both dictate and react. And there's so many checks. There's so many things that, okay, if they're in this formation, then this becomes your gap. If this guy pulls, then your gap moves to here. There's so many of those things within a defense that you have to get right, and everybody has to be on the same page. And if one guy's off, then that impacts everybody else. You can't have that one guy off. I think that's actually a factor here. The more I look at it, the more I go, man, I would not want to be a first-year defensive coordinator this year. Offense is tough, and you can see that the first-year offenses have struggled, but they haven't struggled as much as the first-year defenses, I don't think. And I think that there's something to that with what we're seeing from Florida State. Now, the concern is that you're just not seeing the level of physicality. You're not seeing certain things. And frankly, Florida State looked slow on defense a number of times against Notre Dame. They just don't have a lot of speed at linebacker. And honestly, Lars Woodby runs like a linebacker at boundary safety. So, you get those situations. They look slow a number of times on defense. And also Kendo looks like a shell of himself, or a shell of what was expected. Right now, he just looks stiff and isn't moving real well. So, you look at, they look slow at times, but beyond that, they're not in position well enough to be able to use what speed they have. And when you're taking bad angles, when you're letting guys get into gaps with a full head of steam before you're there and you're having to do a lot of chasing, you're going to look slow. So I think that's the situation. That's where Florida State stands. I think the plus of this is, as you look at the quarters situation, Notre Dame averaged 13.5 yards per play. That's not a plus. You're gonna have to hold with me here. Notre Dame averaged 13.5 yards per play in the first quarter. Now that's really bad. It's really, really bad. They gave up 128 yards rushing in the first quarter. Yikes. But 13.5 yards per play in the first quarter. 7.8 yards per play in the second quarter. And then 6 yards per play in the third quarter. And then 8.7 in the fourth quarter. So if you just look at the halves, Notre Dame averaged 10.1 yards per play in the first half, and then 6.1 yards per play in the second half. I think that's meaningful because Notre Dame didn't just shut it down completely. Now, they did shut it down a little bit in the fourth quarter, and that's actually where they were able to run it a little bit more at the end, and we're still able to do some things. But that cutting it from 10.1 in the first half, which is embarrassingly bad, to 6.1, which is actually reasonably respectable against a good offense. You're not going to win most games giving up 6 yards per play, but that's not humiliating. You'd hope to be in the mid fives, high fives against a quality offense as often as not. And if you've got a really good defense, if your defense is elite, then you're holding them under 5. But 6.1, that's not what you want, but it's a whole lot closer. And what that tells me is that they were able to clean some stuff up at the half and get some guys to figure out, like, look, here's what you were doing. Why are you doing this? And it looked to me like a lot of assignments and a lot of things that weren't where they should be got cleaned up at the half and were better in the second half. And so that's encouraging. That shows me that the defensive staff is not clueless. That shows me that they can actually teach and get guys to do some of these things. But it suggests that they're just, at this point, they're coaching uphill and they're not in a position to be able to maximize what they have week to week because they're still teaching these guys the base stuff on their defense. And because of some weaknesses on the roster and some other issues, they're forced to do certain things that some of these guys aren't really prepared to do. I do think that you can blame them for going to the tight front in preparation for Miami when that's not something that they're planning on using most of the year. And it's a front that they're not all that good at, that they haven't been all that good at. And I feel like they wasted two weeks of good teaching time in installing some stuff that is less relevant to a lot of the stuff that they're doing now. And I think that put them behind a little bit. It would have been better to stick with your stuff and move some guys around a little bit rather than do that, in my view. But otherwise, I think you can see that just based on the first to second half improvement, that maybe the second half of the season, you'll see a defense that starts to find their footing as guys start to understand what their jobs are and start to fit their responsibilities and hit their run gaps correctly. And you see gap control actually starting to happen. You wonder whether that's going to be the case, because first half to second half in the game showed some of that. I wonder whether first half of the season, second half of the season, we start to see some of that as well. I'm going to go ahead and wrap there. This has been the Unconquered Podcast, Hot Takes Edition.
I got some more defense talk from No Cast. Because clearly the defense is the problem.
Defensive end.
All right, before I
there's processes that go around all around the defense, and let's be young. Georgia Tech, FSU put up 13 in North. There, Travis is that it's some guarantee that you get. And I mean, I just don't see him at some point in time, particularly for a kid who's seemingly dealt with him previously and off into the mix. Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're gonna talk about the defense on here. More defense, man. So no bloody. You say excuses. I have no idea what it is. We have the same personnel from last year. Whoopi's a dickhead. I don't get what people say he's smart because he talks proper. I don't know. I didn't see any intelligence on that play. Thanks, no blood. So we'll see. Let's go. Let's get more talk on the defense.
I mean, Travis will miss some snaps because of injury. I'm almost certain of it at some point in time, but I don't think there's a real alternative.
You know what? I'm gonna hit some
Nor do I think there's a method of game to which you can play that helps protect him. I mean, you know, it's not as though you can drop him back and protect or anything else. I mean, this is every situation that you have points to this being it, you know, what it is. So I think you're going to have to function with it as much as possible. And
hope that you have some injury luck on a kid who maybe hadn't had all that much of it.
If you're going to put him in there, you need to run him. There's no reason to try to preserve Jordan Travis. It's not like you're preserving him for his throwing ability, right? 151 of his 204 passing yards came on just 5 throws. That means you got about 53 yards on the other 19 dropbacks. On average, not on average, but like the most common play when they drop back to pass was a very ineffective play. They were able to hit some explosive plays. I think part of that, a large part of that, was off play action because the defense did have to respect the run and specifically Travis's legs. If you're going to play him, run him, period. Like, I don't think Jordan Travis is a long-term solution for FSU at quarterback. I think he's a couple game, maybe one season solution dependent.
Sorry about that. 11:21. Hold on.
In that game,
Fire.
to his credit, because the defense, they named maybe one season solution depending on how well Shepard Purdy comes along. I don't think he's your starter.
Yeah, Travis can throw. He can.
In 2021 at this point.
He can throw a little
They
bit.
got the kid to bite on the slant on 3rd and 4,
Yeah.
Which is another 50 yards or 54 yards or whatever that was. So, yeah.
So that's a great point you bring up, by the way. We broke this down before the show when Aaron and I were sorting through some of the data. So it was 3rd and 4, right? Which means you have to respect the threat of his legs.
Yeah,
you have to respect the threat
he fast
of the short pass. And they didn't actually play action, if I recall, right? They pump faked it and went. But that's kind of basically I don't think that's his 3rd or 4th read. I'm pretty sure he pumps it. He looks at, okay, if we got it, throw it. If not, take off, especially because where they were on the field, if I recall, was that the 48 yard? No, that was the 31 yarder, right?
They're right at about midfield on that play. I mean, he ends up letting it go about 6 or 7 yards on the other side of the field.
Oh, that was the end of the first quarter one.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So they're 3rd and 4 at the Notre Dame 48 there. Mike Norvell, to his credit, has shown that he will go for it on 4th down when appropriate. Generally, I think if you looked at kind of like what the metrics say, almost all of his 4th down decisions when the game was still in the balance and not garbage time have been at least neutral, if not like helping your win expectancy. So I think that's a really smart play. Like that shows coaching and thought process and building and planning. Hey, we're going to run a slant and go because we're confident that we're going to come back and go for it on 4th down here from midfield because we're trying to win the game. Now, taking the field goal early in the game, not really a winning the game decision. I think that's more image management, getting on the board, maybe giving your guys confidence they can get at 0. That's sort of a nebulous factor. Certainly, it's not the decision that's going to help you win the game from a maximizing your scoring chances standpoint. But I'm willing to accept that maybe with a young team trying to build stuff, maybe there is a more important thing to like building confidence there, and also making sure that you avoid a shutout because you don't know how many chances you're going to get down deep against probably the 2nd best team that you play all year. So yeah, I like staying out of these long down and distance situations, which which basically FSU has got to keep the threat of the run alive at all times. On 3rd and 4, Travis's legs are a legitimate threat that you need to account for in the pass defense that you call.
Yeah.
As a coordinator. 3rd and 8.
It's good, man.
Not really, man.
I always do
Like,
Jordan has something special.
It's just hard to scramble for 8. It's not that hard to scramble for 4. You see what I'm saying? Like that matters so much. There's so much you can do in those downs, staying ahead of the chains.
Like, man, we need a quarterback.
They were 18% success rate on Saturday night on 2nd and 8 plus, 3rd and 5 plus. Success rate on all their plays was actually like north of 40%. I mean, we're talking about more.
All this proves to me, right? All this proves to me is that Norvell, he can get the most out of his quarterbacks. Now, James Blackman is destroyed. That proves that because Norvell is like a quarterback whisperer. So James Blackman is just a broken. He always been a broken product. There's no fixing him. Jimbo Fisher couldn't even fix him. So Norvell's just going to squeeze every last drop of the quarterback. We got a good coach, y'all. Offensive coach. He need to get his defense
More than
side
double.
right, though. That offense is nice. Hold on, let me get this back. Our offense is nice. It's gonna be our offense is gonna be nice at Florida State in the upcoming seasons. Hold on, y'all.
Miracle advantage.
They need to get him back and healthy. Way
Now
you can do in those downs. That's a I think they're actually pretty close to 50% for a while. You know, they're running hot there for a little bit. Staying ahead of the chains of this offense, getting some of those 5-yard gains on first down, you know, on 2nd and 10, getting it back to 3rd and 4. That's a really big deal. In order to do that, I do think you need to keep running Jordan Travis a lot.
second part of the question is, what adjustments do you anticipate from defense coordinators who have now had meaningful game film of Travis? I mean, I think we agree that you can kind of go one of two ways here. You could either blitz him more, or you could see people that take the mentality that you're going to make, you're going to make Travis earn it. You're going to drop a few more, maybe have somebody either spy or general idea of contain, and Notre Dame blitz, 40% of the time, bud? Yeah, I think you'll have one of those. I think you'll have one of two very distinctive paths taken by defenses, that they'll either be real aggressive, try to make him make quick decisions and see if he's able to do that, or they'll just try to prevent some of these longer, bigger plays that we just talked about, and make him be smart over a series of 10, 12, 14, 16 games.
Okay, kind of, and had 19.
I think it is what it has to be right now. I mean, I just don't see any other way
Here's a defense.
to get it done. And I think that we'll probably have some injury concerns at some point in time, particularly for a kid who's seemingly dealt with them previously, and somebody who's not shy about taking a shot. In fact, that there's times in the games where he goes out of his way to get himself into the mix. Yeah, I mean, Travis will miss some snaps because of injury.
Okay, let's get to the defense.
Well, I feel like we spent a long time on the offensive line and tight ends of Notre Dame, and those tight ends and offensive lines certainly whipped FSU's defensive line's ass. So we will absolutely be sure to consider that going forward. Although, I mean, we kind of weird, and there's a couple we'll discuss going forward. But you also have some ones on this slate that are maybe.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Let me get it going. Hold on.
Going forward, although I mean, we kind of usually do, right? I think we talked about Georgia Tech's offensive line is not very good, and Miami's offensive line is not very good. I think both those things are actually still pretty true. Those teams protect them with tempo and with running the quarterback. And now, hey, FSU is actually doing the same thing, right? Some tempo, some running the quarterback, maybe making the offensive line look a little bit better than it actually is. We'll talk more about the UNC defensive line in the preview. Clemson's offensive line looks pretty good. NC State seems to be able to pass protect, but not run block, which is kind of weird. And there's a couple we'll discuss going forward. But you also have some ones on this slate that are maybe not great. But we'll talk about that each week for sure.
Yeah, Jeffrey asks, or Jeffrey states, reasons for optimism. Miami got blown out and exposed, and UF has narrowed their margin for error for winning the East / making the CFB playoff to 0 by blowing a very winnable game. Meanwhile, Florida State managed to hang in with one of the better teams in the nation on the road and even lead at times, despite dealing with a defense that looks as if it's all but given up, a new quarterback, in a system that players still don't seem to entirely feel comfortable with. I walked away from that game happier than I've been in probably the last 2 seasons. Still have major concerns regarding the defense, and also worried about Travis getting hit so often, which brings back bad moments of deja vu. But Florida State looked better in that loss than they looked in many of their most recent wins.
All right, y'all. We got one more.
What's up, fellas? Florida State loses in South.
And then we'll do, this is here to spear, and then we'll just do a form. We can just talk to each other.
Upset because Florida State's offense had some rhythm going. Jordan Travis is a true starting quarterback. We're done with all that talk. Jordan Travis, do we need to see Chuba Purdy? Do we need to see him out there? Do we need to see another quarterback out there? Jordan Travis knows how to manage a game. He is a starting quarterback. What's y'all's initial raw reactions to tonight?
Yeah, I mean, credit to the defense for that fourth quarter goal line stop, and also, getting the early fumble recovery that got Florida State the early lead. But I mean, in between that, they just got dominated tonight. It felt like time and time again, Notre Dame kept running the same play on offense. They ran that counter, and every time Florida State's defense just wasn't prepared for it.
We gonna play Mike Norvell.
Open holes. I think they had 2 long touchdown runs on
I think
that
I'm
play.
over here and talking about the Notre Dame game. I think y'all are too. We always want to look forward. So I'm gonna go ahead and see what old Mike Norvell talking about. Let's see what he's talking about. Okay, so we got Mike Norvell, Tamorian Terry. All right, let's see what Mike Norvell talking about.
Tuesday, try to throw some new things at guys in regards to just some structural things to continue to challenge them with how we're working, trying to create that game type of intensity throughout the course of practice, and truly just working on the fundamental aspects of what we're trying to do, how we're trying to grow. I thought there was a good response to some of the speed work that we got against each other. I saw guys definitely putting forth a really good effort, trying to play with a relentless mindset, and still having a great focus on our communication, our fundamentals. Just some things that we got to continue to clean up and build upon. But definitely proud of our guys for the steps that we're taking in the right direction, and them embracing that mindset and approach, and just continuing to work towards that, and preparing for North Carolina this week.
Yesterday, Coach Fuller did not seem to want to entertain the topic of defenses giving up a lot of points across the country. Do you have any theories as to why that's happening? Did what happened the 6 months or so of the interruption this offseason, do you think that had a bigger impact on defenses than maybe some people might have expected?
No, I mean, who knows? I mean, the thing we're focused on is what we can do to improve and get better. We see and understand the issues that we have. In places.
I don't know. I don't.
Games, and we gotta.
I say it like this. I don't know. Without what combining Miami and Florida State, could we beat Clemson? I don't know. I still don't know.
We get better. That's kind of our focus. What's happening across the country. You asked the question about offense a few weeks ago. Defenses. It doesn't. I mean, all that doesn't really matter. For us, we understand what we.
Miami got beat really like 45
this week, so we come out and play better than we played. At this point, up to this point in the season, we're planning on doing it.
James Black will be the starting quarterback.
Mike, I was curious to get your thoughts on the offensive line and the growth. It seems like they've been progressing the last couple of weeks. I guess would you agree with that? And if so, why do you think that is?
I think those guys are focused on their improvement. It's a very general thing to say, but I definitely believe that I'm seeing that them get better. It's had a little bit of continuity, not absolute continuity. They've still been without a few guys, and you have to have some moving pieces. But these guys are embracing the work, and we're hard on them every day, pushing them in all aspects. But and that's going to help this program continue to grow and advance, based off the offensive line, the defensive line. Those units have to be the true backbone of your football team. And I definitely see some great growth with the offensive line. And even though there are a lot of young faces, if you look at it, we played, I want to say five freshmen, redshirt or true freshmen throughout the course of the season already, and then got a couple sophomores that are in there. Just pleased with.
What's up, K. Brown?
Even older guys, guys like David Johnson, Devontae, Taylor, and those guys are continuing to grow and working within that group. So definitely pleased with some of the steps I've seen.
Coach, something Coach Papucha said yesterday was if you're focused on the results in your coaching or your teaching, then you're coaching or teaching probably the wrong way. How do you balance that kind of philosophy with you want to see improvement and process with the obvious, like you want to win, you want to see results immediately?
well, I mean, you have a standard and the potential that you believe that your football team can achieve. And if we go out there and we play to the best of our ability, we give great effort. We play with a focus of fundamentals and technique. It's never going to be perfect. I understand that. But when you're playing to the maximum of your potential in those aspects, and you can live with results. And but if all you're doing is
like your offense, coach, like your offense,
just the end goal or the end result. I mean, I've been a part of games where you've been successful and really taking a step back as a program because of lack of improvement in certain areas. We're looking to build this the right way. We're looking to, there's not ever a game that I go and take the field that I don't expect to be successful. And because I have great trust in our players, I have great trust in our coaches, the things that we're willing to do and the way that we work. But whenever if all you're doing is looking at 3 steps ahead and just focus on Saturday night, then you're going to miss out the opportunity to grow and get better today.
Mike, how was Jordan Travis's hand? Was he able to practice in full today, or at least progress?
He did. He practiced today, yes,
sir. Who cares?
Coach, offensively, you as an offensive play caller, you'd go to your quarterback and maybe talk to them about what sort of plays or routes they feel comfortable playing. Defensively, I mean, I know you guys are the teachers, they're the students, you don't want them to set the game plan, but are those conversations worth asking with your defensive players at this time about maybe there's certain things they feel more comfortable running or things they don't feel are clicking?
Well, I mean, that's always a part of the process. And, the way that you get a sense of how comfortable guys are is, the way they perform and execute in practice. But we definitely have those conversations, and we want to play to the strengths of what our guys can do, and make sure we put them in the best position. And a lot of that is making sure that there's times that things will look good in practice, but that's really part of that approach of bringing that game mentality to practice. Because there's a handful of plays, some of the explosive plays that we gave up last week that. With all the right intentions, we either didn't communicate or didn't use proper fundamentals or missed opportunity in the moment. And that's where you have to be able to transition and take that preparation and be able to apply it through the course of the game. And so, but we definitely have those conversations, and there's an understanding throughout this program that, if you don't feel comfortable in with something you're being asked to do, then that's, you've got to be able to communicate. And our coaches, we have a lot of back and forth with players and trying to help assist them through the learning curve if there's ever something new. But we definitely have that back and forth.
Hey, Mike, you talked a good bit about UNC's offense yesterday, and obviously the challenge they present. What have you seen from the defense? I know Coach Dillingham talked yesterday about the pressure and how they're going to bring it from a bunch of different ways, and how that'll challenge the offensive line.
Absolutely, and this is this is a big play. Their defense is very capable. Look back. I mean, I think in the last contest they gave up some points there late in the contest. You're working through that, but overall, I think they're top 25 in scoring defense. I mean, they've done a good job through the course of the season. They've got some good athletes, really good scheme, well coached. I mean, it's going to be a great challenge for us, and that's why we have to have such a great week of preparation. I like our start of what we're able to do today, but this is going to be a great challenge for our offense.
Hey, Coach, I've noticed other teams across the country that are historically really good defensive teams are giving up a lot of yards this year. I think your team's ranked 59th. The teams like Alabama are 66th in average yards per game. Is there something happening? Is our offenses just ahead of defenses? Did the COVID layoff? Can you make any sense of how many yards teams are giving up this year?
I mean, kind of like I mentioned, our focus on ourselves and trying to clean up the issues that have really happened throughout the course of our games of why we've given up some of those plays and things that we need to get addressed and fixed. What's going across the country, that's really I don't pay too much attention to that. Just trying to really focus on our team and the development and growth that we can have there defensively, offensively, and special teams. And so I don't have a great answer for that question other than we're continuing to focus on our improvement.
When you found out Devontae Love-Taylor was available in the transfer market, he contacted you guys. Did you have an idea of what kind of guy he would be in terms of the leadership skills and all those other things, or did you just think, hey, he's a guy that's played right tackle and had some success? At what point did you realize he might be a bigger factor in some of those intangible areas?
Well, I mean, and I will say that when he became available in the portal, we've got relationships throughout the state, and actually his high school coach, reached out and contacted Coach Fuller, and they've got a great relationship. And he alluded to the type of young man that he was more than even the type of player that he was. And I can tell you, we're going to bring the right guys into this program. And you look at the guys that we've been able to attract here, through transfers that have come in since I got here in December, to signees. I mean, it is an impressive group, and they're definitely going to help our program as we move forward. But you look at Devontae Taylor and Jordan Wilson. I mean, I hate that Jordan Wilson is not able to play this year, but he is an unbelievable young man. Even his encouragement for guys at practice. I mean, he's going to be a great player, and I'm excited about him getting another year and being able to be a part of this program. But Miko Dotson. I mean, what an incredible person. That's the key. That's the focus. Is making sure that anybody that comes in this program, they got to fit that mindset and mentality. They got to be willing to work. They want to be able to inspire and impact others. You watch Devontae Taylor, and you watch him at practice. You watch him through the course of the game. Just the
offensive line is good, man.
Dotson's the exact same way.
Offensive line is good.
I mentioned those grad transfers. You got to be certain on those guys.
Man,
we're not going to take somebody that's just going to be a quick fix, and there's things.
How we go from an F-
wonderful
minus offensive line to like a passing grade?
This program, we're building something
In a COVID
special. And those guys are helping lay that foundation.
Hey, real quick, so I'm not talking over the video. How the hell do we go from an F- offensive line, one of the worst in the country, if not the worst, to a passing grade the next season? We got like a D+, almost I dare to say a C-. Offensive line right now. I'll say about a C-, D+, D+ in there, D+. From an F- to a D+ is a big damn jump with the same, almost the same players, almost. They first years. That's crazy. They don't even make. They don't make.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Okay.
How involved have you been in the defensive game planning for this week? I know you like to focus on the offense a lot. Are you more hands off, or are you being more involved this year in the defensive game planning?
Like I said yesterday, when it comes to that, I got great coaches. I'm involved in every aspect of what we do. And that's no different this week than it was last week, or at any point that I've been a head coach. And obviously, there's things that we're going to continue to improve in all three phases, and things that we're continuing to focus and addressing. But I've got a great group of coaches, and we're continuing to help develop these guys so that we can play to the best of our ability come Saturday. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Hold on a second, y'all. Hold on 1 minute. Your boy TURNTTALLY, hit that like, people. You burnt with Turn.
Get the heart and have
Tomorrow,
a
Terry.
I can say he said a lot of things to me, a lot of great things, and a lot of things that I need to hear. And the things he told me, I just got to be, be that man that he wanted me to be, and be that leader. And I took all that in, and I took that to practice, and it showed up on game day. So all the things that he told me and what we talked about. I mean, I felt where he was coming from, and I took it around.
It seemed like, especially in that game Saturday, it seemed like when the ball was in the air, you were determined to not let anybody else catch, even the one like you had to chase one down to break it up. Is that the mindset you have now? Just be more determination.
Yeah, I'd say that's me. I feel like whatever ball they throw to me, it gotta be mine. Like, if it's in my area, I gotta go get it. So I feel like I don't want the defender to go try to grab the ball or make an interception. So I'm more like just to go try to grab the ball or try to make sure he don't get an interception or anything. But for me, the big thing with me, like,
all right, y'all, we gonna watch. We gonna watch.
I go hop on the ball and go attack.
I ain't really worried about what he got to say. I want to hear what Fuller got to say. Let me get this Coach Fuller up. That's what I need to hear. What Coach Fuller got to goddamn say. Hit that like button. You burnt with Turnt Tuesday, baby. Do this every week. Look out for my premiere video yesterday. Hit that like button. Come here. Look out for my premiere video tomorrow. It'll be about 7:30 p.m. on this channel. Hit the like, subscribe. You're going to enjoy it. All new video. All new skits. Just check me out. No best career. All right, here go Adam Fuller.
When they busted those big runs early, how much of that was guys either not knowing exactly what they were supposed to be doing or not physically executing the play?
Both. On
this will be the last video.
Missed technique, missed tackle. Another one was misalignment. So there were more big plays than obviously we want to go into all the detail about. It was a mixture of both.
Damn, man.
Can you take much from what you guys did in the second half? The explosive plays kind of ended midway through the second quarter, I think. Did you feel like you guys played better? Did you guys change what you were asking guys to do at that point?
Well, we were trying to be aggressive early in the game. They gave us some formations that were formations that sometimes you can or can't be aggressive in. But sometimes when you pressure it and one guy pops out or one guy doesn't get his job done or the group doesn't leverage it the right way, it creates some explosives, but we don't want. It's hard to say you settled in when you give up over 40 points. You never want to say that. But it wasn't a good overall performance for sure. I was proud of the second half. I was proud at the end of the game, the fight, and I was proud about the overall effort. We've got good kids that want to get better. They're eager to try and make this thing turn too. And our job is to make sure that we do it the right way constantly, every single day. We're able to look in the eyes and tell them the truth and see the improvement. And listen, we want the improvement to go from one step to a total flight of stairs. We want that to happen overnight. We're driving to make sure it does, but we got to understand and make sure they understand about what they were getting better at, what still need to get, what needs to improve. And, we keep putting, some guys out there that need the experience, and that's going to continue. And, we got to make sure we keep it that way.
Hey, Coach, obviously you got another great challenge this week. North Carolina guys coming in off their best offensive performance of the year. Kind of talk about the challenges that they provide with Sam Howell, and they really got their running game going against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, they're operating at a high level, and it started that quarterback. I think he's going to sophomore year, had an outstanding year last year, and they came off of a great performance against Virginia Tech. Obviously running the football. They've got wideouts that can deliver, so they're an absolute challenge from sideline to sideline. Those two backs and two wideouts, quarterback, they're playing well up front. So, yeah, they offer a lot of challenges, that's for sure, Pat.
Most people and most businesses can shoot a video like this. You'd agree, right?
Coach, you mentioned the other week about wanting to see some players take the reins on positions. Have you seen anybody step up at any positions?
on a consistent basis, there's been some, and you can tell the guys that are out there the most are the ones that we feel are getting, the job done in a way that they should be getting it done. So yeah, there's been some of it, but obviously not enough. But I've got faith in our players. I really do. Is it perfect? Monday through Saturday? No. But our job as coaches is to show them what it looks like every single day. And whether you have some success or whether you have some failures, like they need to see what that looks like. And, you can't fake confidence. You got to make it real. But confidence is built with work, and work is built with preparation constantly. And we're trying to show them that as a staff every single day. And listen, they have success. Sometimes we say it wasn't good enough. Sometimes it's a failure just because of a mega play, and we try and teach based off of how they did it, not always the result. But listen, the results are what we all look at, right? Players, coaches, everybody. And you just got to make sure that you keep the players focused on the things that are critical for them to have long-term success. So we're in the middle of it right now. It's always difficult when you're not having, the outcome that we want. But these guys are giving us their hearts, and we got to make sure that we continue that on the same plane.
Earlier Mike mentioned that there was plays to be made there for the defense. Guys were put in position to make plays, but at times they're just not trusting their fundamentals. In terms of the word fundamentals, are we talking about things that these kids have been taught since they played football, or are these things that are sort of unique to the scheme and what you're asking them to do fundamentally?
Well, that's a broad question, Aslan, but I understand the question, right? It's like, okay, when a play hits, like, what's the problem? What's the reason? And, there's sometimes there's one or two or three reasons for each play. It's not always the same reason. You wish it was. But I think when Mike mentioned fundamentals, I think that goes with just technique, they playing with the right technique in order to get their job done. What happens sometimes on defense, I think it happens on offense too. If something doesn't go right, players sometimes press. And press doesn't mean play harder or don't play harder, but when the picture maybe changes on me, instead of reacting with the correct technique, I'm going to maybe go on the other side of the block, or I'm going to take my eyes off my man, or I'm going to come out of my zone to be able to make the play because I got to help my team play better. And that's a waterfall effect, in a negative way sometimes. And I think that happens when you're not having the outcome that you want. And there really becomes a belief between players and coaches that what you're coaching,
what the hell is he talking about?
Their belief in their technique is going to get them the outcome they desire. Because I think we all have this natural instinct when things aren't going well with anything, right? Football, obviously here.
It's not like it's
relationships. You're always going to resort back to something that you believe in, that you trust. It might not always be the most, it's instinctual. It may not be the best thing to react on. And that's all part of what we're doing right now, is making sure that we celebrate when they do things with great effort, with great technique, within the team concept, that we celebrate those, regardless of the result. Obviously, we want to connect all those things to success. That's when you really start to roll as a team and as a defense. And we want to make sure that we continue to that foundation of making sure we're telling them the right things and that they see the success at one point to back up what we're telling them.
Hey, Coach, we saw your game and really across all of college football this past Saturday. Scores are up across the board. Heck, even Alabama gave up 48 points this last week. Obviously, there's some function or relationship to the offseason. You guys had the unusual circumstance. But why is that playing such a hard role? Why are defenses having such a hard time catching up with offenses right now?
Maybe this is the wrong answer, but I don't care. Like those things in point, like, I've got a TV too, and I've got a phone. So, you see other teams, but like, I don't really connect that to anything that's happening with us, and, listen, our job is to stop people. Sometimes we've done it, but we haven't done it enough. And it falls on me, it falls on our staff and our players. I believe in our players. And I believe in what we're doing. We just have to do it better, more often, with better consistency. When I say more consistency, I'm not just talking about execution, making their one-on-ones, effort. It's all part of it. If there's always one thing to do, you're just going to harp on that one thing. As coaches, you want to just do this. Once we hit that foundation, do the next thing, and those all become habits. But listen, there's good offenses in the country. There's good offenses in the league, but there's good defenses too that defend those things. So
hit the like.
I don't have enough of a mind to tell you it's because of this, that, or this with all the points. I just know our job is to stop them. We need to do a better job.
Hit the like button, people. Blah, blah, blah.
Hey, Coach, discussing safeties and them being the last line of the defense, how much are those guys struggling right now with making sure they're in position to, basically clean up on plays that go bad on the first two levels for you guys?
Every play that breaks, there isn't always a post safety, Chris. You wish there was, right? But sometimes when you pressure, you got to take the safety, you got to put him someplace else.
Yeah, I think Odell is his last year.
Sometimes when you don't pressure, and he's got the ability to be in the middle of the field, and obviously that's the job of post safety, to make sure he puts the fire out in your program, and the big plays are limited to 15 yards and no more than that based on angles and space. I thought at times we've done a good job with that. At times our post safety is in great position to make a play. At times, their eyes may not be perfect. And at times it's scheme. You're not always going to put a guy in the middle of a football field. Sometimes you put two guys in half fields. But I think overall, we've got, Renardo, is playing good football right now. Jaden, I think, is getting better. We got BG in the game. More than he's ever played now that he's back.
Oh, God.
Ray Woody's been taking snaps for us too. So we've been rotating through with those guys right now. I think they all offer some strengths, and we're trying to use them to the best of their ability within the strengths that they have.
Whoopi's a 3-year. He didn't have a bad injury, but it didn't matter. Even before the injury, he wasn't looking good. No matter where you put him, he's a 5-star. In his 3rd season, and he's getting better. Jeez, Jalen Ramsey came out that day and won ball right now. 5-star. Derwin James, he's a 5-star. He balling from the start.
Adam, I guess just for the way the season has started out, how much of the slump, I guess, is just not having guys available, and then you had to use a primarily 3-man front against Miami. Mike mentioned Saturday night you guys try to play a little tighter in the box, I guess, against Notre Dame. Just the fact that you haven't been able to maybe run a base or a foundational philosophical thing that you guys want to do week in and week out. How much?
We don't need a few, Don. We don't need a lot of people. That brings in confusion. I'm learning my lesson about that. You don't need a little bit of the truths.
That has contributed to the sort of inconsistency of play.
I don't think much, Aslan. You play defense in this time in college football. You're going to face a variety of types of offenses.
Right.
And you need to be specific enough that the concepts carry over, and we've got to be clean as coaches so that when a player sees when we transfer from one week to the next, as you were saying, whether it's defensive scheme or offensive scheme, that those schemes aren't divided and a player feels like he's got to put one book away and grab a different book, and then he has trouble conceptually learning and then not only learning but applying that on the field in a Division I game. We take pride in trying to be in that way when we teach, that it's broad enough that we can defend things that are going to happen, but specific enough to each player that he can kind of hone in on what his job needs to be. It's easier with older players. It's more of a challenge with younger players, not because they're not sharp enough or smart enough. They haven't seen it. And experience is a good teacher. But like I said before, just because you have experience doesn't mean you're going to be successful. So we've got to make sure that the guys that we're putting out there consistently are the ones that see it the cleanest, but the ones that can obviously make the plays too, in the places they're to be made. So that's still trying to work its way out right now as a unit.
I don't know what are you talking about. I have no idea where you at.
Following up on that topic, you've obviously tried a lot of different things, and you've tried a lot of different personnel. I mean,
nothing's working.
Guys out there playing defense, and I've seen you personally on the sideline.
How you manage that?
Go with high intensity and trying to kind of put an arm around guys. I mean, like, where are you at right now with this defense in terms of understanding?
How do you manage to get worse in game, 3? How do you manage to get worse? I don't get that.
Like, maybe how to reach them or how to get the most out of them.
We worse than when we started.
Yeah, I think we're at a good place.
No, we're not.
It's just constant, and anything we do, Ira, is just as real as we can be.
Oh.
And if I put my arm around somebody, because at that moment, I think they need it. If I get on somebody, it's because they need it. I try not to operate out of emotion.
We're not in a good place. We're losing recruits. That's not a good place. I'm not talking about blue chips gone, I'm going to cry. No, I'm talking about we're just losing recruits. We're not in a good place. The players just don't like what they're seeing. What are you talking about?
Even though that's difficult sometimes, we all deal with that. But I try to operate with what that player needs at that time. Just as a person, sometimes that hits home in the right way. Sometimes it needs a follow-up. But these players need us, and they need us to show them the way.
He's coddling.
Both from inspiration, from a learning, from a reaction.
Good night, man.
All of it. And especially in the time, when you're all getting past
Thanks for coming, man.
And you treat somebody a little bit different, it's easier to deal with. When people are pointing fingers at you and telling you you're not good enough, and that happens, and you start out with a 1 and 3, everybody's a little bit more sensitive to the topic of everything.
No, ain't about no 1 and 3. You gave up the most yards rushing in Florida State history this weekend. 353. That's the most in Florida State. That's the worst defensive showing in Florida State history. It ain't about no winning and losing in that. We could have won the game. You still be in trouble. What is he telling me? What else, Scott? Yeah, Scott. Hey, Scott, I'm getting off. Hey, I'm getting off in a minute. It's only a minute left in this video. I'm getting off in a minute anyway. Good night, y'all.
As honest, as thought-provoking, and consistent as possible throughout the times. You know what I mean? Whatever the situation is. Just happens now, it's got a certain title in the book, but how we act, the consistency that we show is critical, especially at times like this. And listen, there's a lot of other things going on in this world, but right now in Florida State, we're dealing with playing another good football team, trying to improve, trying to get better, trying to deal with not being the consistent team that we're trying to be. And the best way to do that is to do it as coaches, that these players understand how it needs to look and how we act and how we treat them every single day. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's not good. I don't think it's working out too well for Adam. I don't think it's working out too good, man. I don't know if it's a good fit. I don't like what I'm hearing from what he was saying. I don't like what I'm hearing. I want to see results like all of you. I need to see results. I see regression. We see it. The recruits see it. The same players from last year. So what's the excuse? Defense was better under Taggart and under Jimbo before him. So, and the roster hasn't even changed that much. They got 2 first-round draft picks on this roster. Hampson, Marvin. There's no excuse. There is no excuse. Yeah, Harlan Barnett was better than him, and Harlan was coaching the defense a 3-4 and didn't know what the hell it was even. The players didn't know what the hell they was doing. They still look better than this team. At least they was fighting. They was trying. Akeem Dent couldn't catch a cold, but he tried. He deflected about 20 passes. It was a pass rush. I think Marvin Wilson was even doing some stuff. We was doing a little bit. We still wasn't good, but we looked a little below average. Now we're like the worst only the worst in the country. So man, it got to be some changes made. I'm not just saying Harlan Barnett. I mean Odell. I'm not just saying get rid of Odell. I'll get rid of Fuller. But changes got to get made somewhere. Like the players, the defense has cashed it in. You might as well you might as well just realize that our defense is not going to win any game for us for the rest of the season. That's what it's looking like. It looks like we're going to be an offensive-minded team. We're going to have to be like Texas Tech out there and put up 45 points to win. So we'll see, man. It's going to be a fun year. I already knew it was going to be a wild and zany, wacky year. I'm having fun, though, covering this team. I ain't going to lie. It's fun. Be looking out for my video. I hate losing, but you can find joy in the little things. When I see sunflower seeds being spat up against the camera during the video, I start believing. I love my Mickey. He say spin sunflower seeds at the camera. Remember that? And then he'll yell in the players' face and they be getting spit all in their face. Yeah, the good old days. All right, y'all. Leave that like before you go. I got a live premiere tomorrow night, 7:30. Be there. Watch it with me and the family. Me and the kids and the wife watch it at the same time. I work hard, baby. I got brand new skits. Watch the whole video all the way through. I know I've been shuffling them around, but these will be all new skits. I'm going to do that. I'm trying to do that every week. That's my goal. Get the channel growing. Keep your head up, Noble Nation. My name's TURNTTALLY, #1 no-blooded fan in the no-blooded universe. And if you think you know somebody better than me, you're doing this. Guess again. Basta! We unconquered over here. Peace, y'all. Shout out to Jay Gutter. Shout out to the No Blood, Scott Norman Don. You know who you is. You know who you are. Thank y'all. Peace. Peace, y'all. Peace, peace, peace. Burnt Wit Turnt. See you next time. Hold on. Peace. TK Mafia. This.
Sipping up every last drop.
From the tree of life, don't follow the face. I'm from Blizzard's main tempest. Ain't nothing else. If it's not without your soldier, I was so I left shout out from the rooftops. No words from the sheriff. King David got a good card. Straight clear, never with the stars. Everything in case of my heart. Overcame obstacles and lust in my heart. Above all things, I see the temple. The spirit resonates on the special ritual. My power is the fatherhood. You're shooting the Messiah. Don't get it twisted, I'm running with choking Emily. Looking for the love sheet, the natural respect. The Lord's curse, turn to blood. The evil doers trying to get filled in the flood. It's in the locust, they eat up the crowds. For the wicked, time to hit your eyes. The land is dry, the grass hold on. The king is coming for your cattle and your firstborn. I was meant to a cross, but I won't be lost. Now I see the glory, we pass it back like we cross. Get away from my day, and status coming with money. Turn to a burning bush, this is what he said to me.
Drinking water from a rock. Sipping up every last drop. Sipping up every last drop. Me and the Hello Pack. Drinking water from a rock. Sipping up every last drop. Sipping up every last drop. Drop, 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 drop.
Makes my way smooth up from dry ground. Until you move my sails on the holy ground. Not as days they come to the son of man. I make a wheel of this land, crumble like sea sand. And you some idols with me, I count on you. Your election chose me above all people. When your promised land, everything glows. Nothing misses a meal from your hour God flows. From the gods of heaven, your glory could true. Let the firmament your spirit touches down on truth. My soul is sated by your word, praise your greatness. Let the life of us be how I make days. You say the chisel commandments on Mount Sinai. I'm in this temple screaming Yahshua till I die. I'm the branch, I'm just hey. I'm brother Esau on the island of text, smoking weed. If you sell, then you get brother pride. The older shall serve the young, the brother pride. Something up, every last drop.
I'm jumping, but this round taking a shot. For your airways, you gon' need your mom. I got you holler at the lead, your props. Yeah, you're so wrong with me, that's the Jesse style. See the fly with just 2 loads of bread. Feed the servant dust while I'm crushing his head. Shouting from the rooftops. Never lie, prepared for the sword. Lust in, get this. Suffering, fan of the word. Be glad on the rise, do the best. Nigga, the vibe when the feel the best in your chest. I'm holding hip hop, working y'all on fucking west. They just stay in the door, I'm waiting no test. I'm a warrior with the strength of Nimrod. Got your hollow mark on my forehead with a cow rod. I like clean foods and deep fried meat. Stay away from crabs and pick up big feet. Walk as long and murder these beats. They heat locked to the avenue and streets. When they go to fight over, dry shot. Listen to me, the black woman, you.
Wit Turnt, hello.